It's time for another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas, the podcast covering the intersection of business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life in general here in the Ozarks. Whether you are considering a move to this area or trying to learn more about the place you call home, we've got something special for you. Here's our host, Randy Wilburn.
Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and I'm excited today. Today is a unique day. I actually did 4 podcast interviews today, and this is the final one of the day, which, I don't usually do this many in one day, but this was one of those days where I'm earning my keep. And suffice to say, the thing that I really enjoy about this is 2 things. Actually, everybody that I've already spoken to is somebody that I either consider a friend or somebody that I have some relationship with, but this gentleman is a friend. And I actually get to sit in front of him and have a conversation. I'm here at the studios for KISS 105.3 FM and right here in downtown Fayetteville on Dixon. And I'm with Noel Sosa, who is the general manager of KISS 105.3. Noel, how are you doing?
Man, I got to say this, Randy. It's so cool to be here. Like, I listen to your podcast. I'm a fan. And just to kind of hear you kick things off and set it up, I was like, oh, man, I'm here. I made it. I'm finally in here with you.
Exactly.
So, dude, congratulations on doing what you do. And thank you for including me today, man.
Oh, man, my pleasure.
In that busy schedule of yours.
My pleasure. And I'm going to tee this up for everybody listening because, a lot of you, I always unfold a little bit about me every time I do a podcast episode. But in a former life, and really when my last couple of years at Howard University, big shout out to HU. But my last few years at the historically Black college there in Washington, D.C., I spent a lot of time with a gentleman named Pluria Marshall. Pluria Marshall started the National Black Media Coalition. He happened to be a friend of my grandfather's, and Pluria was really big. He had real strong connection with Cathy Hughes.
Yes.
And Cathy Hughes was a trailblazer, a woman, especially in a male-dominated industry that owned her own radio station, multiple radio stations.
Yes.
And Cathy Hughes she's a giant in this industry. And I remember when I kind of connected the dots and put 2 and 2 together, and when I connected with Noel and he told me about his boss, Mr. Perry from Perry Publishing and Broadcasting, who is a giant in his own right, I was like, man, I got to tell their story. I want to connect with them. So I'm finally here to do that. I know we're going to work on getting a history lesson from Mr. Perry at some point in time. But for right now, we've got number 2, numero uno. Or as they said in Austin Powers, number 2. So we've got Noel, and man, it's interesting because, you've got one of the only minority owned stations. I don't know. I don't think it's in Arkansas, period. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but.
Taking a look at the landscape, I know it's not the only, but as far as commercial radio goes, and definitely when you consider the depth of the company itself. Right. Very unique, for sure.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Yeah. Because my friends ask me, well, do they have any FM radio out there? I'm like, yeah, we've got some urban stations. And so when I think of you guys when I think of that, right?
Which wasn't true just not too long ago.
Right. Exactly. So, yes. Yeah. No, I love that, man. But Noel, it's great to have you on here. I would love to kick it off with you sharing your superhero origin story, which is a question that we ask all the time. And I tell people the reason why I ask that is because as much as I like to learn about organizations and companies and institutions, it's the people behind them that make them move, right? And you are one part of the solution of Perry Publishing and Broadcasting, as there are many that are out there that are doing a lot of the same work that you're doing. But you're here in Northwest Arkansas doing it for Mr. Perry and for KISS 105.3. So I'd love for you just to share your story, and then we'll get into the radio station a little bit and the challenges that technology has brought to radio, right?
Right.
And I think it's really interesting to figure that out because, we don't look at radio the same way that we did even just a terrestrial radio I'm talking about, the same way that we did just 10, 15 years ago.
Man, I can't wait to get into that. I love it. I hope I don't ramble too much.
No, you're good. You're good. Like I said, we're going to have a conversation, but tell the audience who you are.
Okay. So again, Noel Sosa. I'm not going to tell you my age. I'll age myself along the way here. But again, man, glad to be here in Northwest Arkansas. Definitely have come a long way. I will say this year, which is 2021 at the time of this recording, that's even hard to say, wrap my mind around a little bit.
Yeah.
But this marks my 20th year in the radio industry.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. And it's something that I actually never really planned on doing.
Yeah.
It's something that I kind of by chance happened to fall into. You know, Randy, I'll reveal this to you. I used to think I was going to be like a big time rap artist. So I used to think, you know, hey, that's what I'm going to do. Just a big fan of music, especially hip hop, you know, growing up, you know, 80s, 90s, you know.
Yeah.
And see, I'm already aging myself. But, you know, I thought that's what I was going to do. And I was pursuing some of those goals in my dreams doing that. And along the way, caught the interest of some folks who worked in the radio industry. They called me in and they said, you know what, kid, I'd like to talk to you. And I'm thinking, hey, man, they're going to play my music on the radio.
Right.
I'm going to get a record deal. I'm going to blow up.
Yeah.
They ended up offering me a job. And 20 years later, I hadn't stopped doing it. You
Wow.
know?
Wow.
So that, you know, that originated in South Texas. And then back in 2008, relocated to Oklahoma City,
Sure.
where I was fortunate enough and really blessed with an opportunity to meet the Perry family and their headquarters out there in Oklahoma City. And been working for them ever since. So, I mean, in a nutshell, that's how I got here through what I'm doing, through the profession of radio. But it's something that I've, you know, again, unexpectedly just had a passion for. I always knew I wanted to be involved somehow, some way, using those type of dynamics, getting on a microphone or, you know, somehow being involved in broadcasting or media of some sort. But it was quite the journey, man. I mean, that's in a very hyper speed how I got to this point right now.
No, that's good. I love that. Yeah, we always ask for the Cliff Note version because there's still so much to be done and to be said about your life, right? But this is where you are up until right now. And I really appreciate you sharing about that because a lot of times we talk about things like dreams and stuff that we want to do and it seems like it never comes to fruition. But in reality, sometimes you make these little pivots in life and they take you down different pathways that you never thought you would go down. And who knows? I mean, maybe that story about the rapper or whatever hasn't been finished. You never know. You know, you got a little DJ Khaled vibe about you. So right, exactly. So, you know,
another one.
Yes, and another one. Let's so go. Yes. So now I'm going to have to listen to DJ Khaled on the way home because I've got him in my head now. So, but no, seriously though, I mean, I think it's important. And especially during this time of the pandemic, so many people are having to pivot, having to make changes, work-related changes, career, vocation, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's important to realize that, you know, until it's done, meaning you're in your graveyard dead, there is still so much to be done.
Amen.
And
that's
so,
right.
Yeah. So I'm always encouraging. So for those of you that are listening to this, please be encouraged that the full story is not finished with you. So just keep moving forward and persevering. I know we had a rough year. I mean, 2020 was a dumpster fire of epic proportion. But if you're alive and listening to this, then you made it.
Hey, right.
and we're here,
right.
And let's move this thing forward. So, you
Absolutely.
know, I really want to encourage people to be thinking about that. So, but let's talk about the radio station, because I think what's really interesting is that I'm a podcaster. I'm interviewing you for a podcast. It's never going to see the light of day on a radio station.
Right.
But it will hit thousands of people's ears in a much different format that didn't exist prior to 2004, really, if you think about
it's
it.
Incredible,
That's when it was created. That's when arguably people say that's when 2004 was when the gentleman from MTV fame came and created podcasting along with his partner who had developed the technology of basically taking our voice and putting it into ones and zeros in a digitized format and dropping it across the Ethernet, if you will, and in the web. So it's made it a lot easier for people to just set up shop, right? I mean, it cost millions of dollars to do what Mr. Perry and what Perry Publishing and Broadcasting has done.
That's right.
For the radio industry. It didn't cost me. I got a Zoom H6 handy digital recorder.
Yes, sir.
I got some really good mics. I got some cords here. You see, I got my little Pelican briefcase over there to carry my equipment around. I didn't have to spend nearly the amount of money that bricks and mortar radio stations have to spend. Yet, can, if I know what I'm doing, create an actually a pretty solid product. And I can go into my computer afterwards and add effects. I can do whatever I want to do, and you would never be the wiser for it. So,
you do create a solid product. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate
Northwest Arkansas.
that. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm tuned in.
Yeah.
I'm kind of fanboying right now, Randy.
Right.
All right. I'm glad to be here with you.
I appreciate that. So tell me though, man, how are you being Noel and KISS 105.3 dealing with the change in the dynamics that have changed radio?
You know, I tell people this all the time because I'm really just speaking from my heart. Like I truly feel this way. I think this is one of the most exciting times to be in the industry because it is evolving, you know? I mean, there's so many more tools to play with to be able to engage your audience. I just think that's incredible and amazing. You know, that's the message I tell the guys who I work with, or anybody who'll listen to me for that matter. Right. It's like, hey, you know, because some people will think, well, these are negative things. I look at them as very positive things because, you know, for one, it's challenging. Two, it's a lot of fun to be able to use different tools to engage with the audience wherever they happen to be. Mm-hmm. You know, it used to be, you know, radio was something that kind of sold itself and people would come to the radio. Now you got to be much more engaged in bringing the radio to people. And so, hey, if they're on social media, how are you engaging on social media? If they're listening to podcasts, how are you engaging in the podcast realm? Yeah. If they're listening to streaming services, do you have your DJs creating playlists? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's important to check off those boxes. And a lot of people, a lot of companies aren't really grasping that yet. And I'm excited that we are. And that's something that we're pursuing and something we're doing because there's not a lot of us here in this building, but we do a lot of work. And that's one thing I'm real proud of is the team is ready to put their head down and get to it every single day. And, you know, that's kind of where we are with that. You know, we want to create and be a part of all these things. It's definitely more work, but I mean, what are we doing? You know, what are we here to do? We're here to put forth that effort and to be able to check off all the required boxes. A lot more boxes these days, Randy. Yeah. But we're here to check them off.
No, I love that. And the thing, I want to give a shout out to you guys because I know that I've gone to several community events all pre-pandemic where I would see that KISS 105.3 van and I said, oh, Noel's in the house and there's a lot of good stuff happening. I mean, you participated in the Black owned NWA event, the special program that they did outdoors after George Floyd's death. And it was, I forget what it was called, but it was an event that Carl Dunn and some other folks had put on.
That's right.
And so that, you know, but I mean, I've seen you guys all over the place. The van's parked out there. I parked near it when I came here today. But I mean, you guys have really, even in the short period of time that you've been here, you've tried to, you know, make your mark on this community. And how important is community to you guys?
Man, I mean, listen, that is really the heart of what this is, what our industry is. You know, some people would think, well, radio station, music. Right. But man, a radio station is so much more than that. And I think that's really highlighted particularly in this community here in Northwest Arkansas, because in 2016, when we came on air, January 2nd, we were the first ever commercial urban radio station to be in this market in Northwest Arkansas, which is quite the honor because Northwest Arkansas, I think, you know, is a very special place.
Right.
If you don't know, now you know. Right. And to be part of, again, that history, the first commercial urban radio station to set up here was huge and is huge. Yeah. And, you know, and this is why I'm real proud, particularly, again, of our company, Perry Broadcasting, being independently owned. And, you know, this has been big shout out to those big corporate guys who own hundreds and hundreds of properties. They're doing their thing. That's fine. But what we get to do is we get to be right here on the ground level. We get to sit across from each other and talk and communicate. I get to send my DJs out to do live promotions and events and really connect with people. Obviously, you know, due to pandemic and things like that, we're doing that a little differently right now. But the norm is being able to connect with people face to face, build relationships, and serve the community. That is what it's all about. If you are not engaged with your community, you are not doing your job. It's me getting excited.
I know. I see. It's all good, man. I'm excited too.
Yeah, I get up there, start doing my president thing. But you know, if you're not engaging with your community, you're just not doing your job. I mean, that is what allows us to stand apart from, you know, some of our competitors, if you will, because we are so actively engaged and building those relationships, man. I tell you, Randy, this is something that I'm very proud of, is that the number one comment that I get from people when I'm out and about, people will stop me and talk to me. The number one comment I get is thank you. Like, man, we've been asking for this for 20 years. You know what I mean? 30 years. We've always wanted, you know, an urban station here, and just thank you. And that's the number one comment I get. So that's very gratifying. And again, it's all about community, man. You know, that is what we're here to do, is to serve and not just be a part of this community, but to be so entrenched that we become part of the fabric that makes it up.
Yeah. You know, and I'm curious to know, what was the idea behind Mr. Perry's desire to break into this market in Northwest Arkansas?
Man, you know, that's a great question. And I've heard him talk about it on several occasions. I remember how he spoke very vividly about that during our ribbon cutting ceremony in our first year, open in 2016. And he said, Mr. Perry, he's a numbers guy. He talks about, I'm a numbers guy. He said the numbers didn't really make sense, looking at the demographics and just kind of some of the numbers that they analyze where they want to make that investment. And he said the numbers didn't make sense, but I talked to a few key people and they convinced me, no, this area is ready for this type of entity to be in the marketplace. We need urban radio, and what a better way than to have, again, Perry Broadcasting be the one to bring it to the market. And so he was convinced by, some unique things about this market, especially, when you look at some of the major players that exist here.
Right.
There's a lot of opportunity there. So we've definitely done our part to live up to our commitment and put forth the effort to bring this here. And we hope that we can continue to watch it grow.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, there's just so many, you have so many people moving here. This area is going to grow. It's going to double in size between now and 2040.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing when you think about it. So you're going to have new potential listeners that move to the area almost every day.
Absolutely.
And I think pre-pandemic, it was like 32 net new people a day are moving to Northwest Arkansas. So that's impressive. And every time I look up, there's a new U.S. News and World Report story about one of the best towns in the country, or one of the best this, or you fill in the blank. It's just a race between Bentonville, Rogers, Springdale, and Fayetteville. And we keep making our mark. And this is one of the fastest growing census tracts in the country. So,
hey man, no, I mean, right. Every time you look up, and I got friends and relatives who know I live, in the area, and they'll be like, hey, they'll screenshot me. Look what they're saying about you. This is where you're at. Like, oh my God. Yep. Yeah. And I was like, well, I wish I could take the credit, but no, this area's been on fire, man. It's been like this hidden gem that more and more people are starting to find out about. So, I mean, very exciting time to be in Northwest Arkansas for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the programming here at KISS 105.3. What can the average listener expect to encounter on the station?
So we're your urban radio station, right? I mean, we play the latest in hip hop and R&B along with those classics. Yeah. Oh man, people love our throwbacks. We try to always
Frankie Beverly and Mays.
Hey, we get them in too now. And I can't say this yet, but we're working on a very special program that is going to really amplify some of that.
Okay.
So get ready. Okay.
Right.
We're never resting over here, man. We're always working and creating and putting positive things together. So we're very excited about that. But yeah, your urban radio station, home for hip hop and R&B, where hip hop and R&B live. That's what we like to say. And we stay true to that. We do have some exceptions. Well, I wouldn't say exceptions, but just some tweaks that we make to the programming here and there. Like on Sunday mornings, we'll do some gospel music,
sure,
which is very traditional for urban radio in certain marketplaces.
Right.
So we definitely do that. And we have a couple of syndicated programs, and then we have our local programming. So that, that's what you can expect, man. This is definitely where hip hop and R&B live. So,
yeah.
Hey,
Well, and what about has there been any talk or thought about, and I don't know what the programming is like in other Perry broadcasting stations, but do you guys get into talking about issues? And if so, what does that look like? And is there any plan to do that here at 105.3?
So, yes. Short answer, yes. Now, we are a music format station, so we're primarily, we keep things a little bit more light and fun with the music and the type of things that we discuss on air. But obviously, again, we're here for our community. If there's something that needs to be addressed, talked about, highlighted, promoted, we definitely do that. And, that can look like a number of different things, whether that's an annual event for, maybe a local organization, whether that be, some of the bigger entities here like the university and the MLK committee or things like that, or, Juneteenth, which we are been doing for years and years in some of our other markets.
Yeah.
I mean, since we've been here, we've been involved as well. Or pressing issues. Like we've been working on getting like the police chief to come on air and talk about certain topics and issues like that. We've had, different members of different, organizations within, some governing bodies and councils, here in the area. So we're all about, staying on top of those and making ourselves available, again, to serve the community in that regard as well, to be a platform for those conversations as well as, the norm, which is, keeping you entertained.
Yeah. And I love that because, I think that gives you some flexibility in terms of serving the greater need that this community, presents to you. So
yeah. And again, one thing that we love to do is we even throw, at least several times a year, we'll put together these community specific events oftentimes, for these events, we'll kind of aim towards some type of nonprofit here in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last one we did was like for breast cancer awareness, and we had just free food. You know what I mean? We connect with our man Nate a lot of times. I mean, not exclusively, but a lot of times.
Yep.
It's so hard for me not to call Nate when I'm putting something like that together.
Listen, I've given Nate so many shout outs on this podcast. It's not funny. Everybody and their mother from all walks of life know Nate, either know his food or have heard his story. And so, and listen, I don't think we could talk enough about the guy and for the impact that he's made, his selfless giving to this community, especially in light of everything that's going on, and making sure that a lot of people don't go to bed hungry at night. So,
yeah, I mean, and just to be completely fair and transparent, man, we have some pretty grassroots connections, like from the bottom, like, when we connected with Nate, and to see what he has just grown into, the force that he is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, Nate, if you listen, man,
right.
I got a tear in my eye right now, but seriously, it's a beautiful thing. And again, it's these types of efforts that make Northwest Arkansas so amazing.
Yeah.
And again, that's something that we're very intentional about. Like I said, these community events, the event that we did before that, Arkansas Support Network, we were, had some food put together, DJ out there, drive-through, precautions, all that stuff, man. Just we always want to serve the community and connect on those kind of levels because again, this is the point I was making earlier. Let me just come back around to that.
Sure.
It's more than just music. It's being able to turn on that dial and to say, you know what, we're here.
Right.
You have to count us. We are a part of this community, a part of this area, a part of this region. And again, that's really what a radio station is supposed to be.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, you're exactly right. And as I'm sitting here talking to you and I'm just kind of thinking about the next steps, what would you say to somebody that's thinking about moving here about Northwest Arkansas? Because you're originally from South Texas, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody thinking about coming here that might be listening to this? And I'm emboldened more to ask this with more frequency because I'm now getting all these reviews of the podcast from people that don't even live here, but are thinking about moving here. And they're like, oh, well, I don't live here, but I listened to your podcast and it kind of helped me. It gave me a better picture for what I can expect. And so I'm going to be really intentional about asking these types of questions. So you've been here for a while. I've been here for 6 years. I don't know how long you've been here exactly, but it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a few years now.
Yeah. But I'm just curious. So for the uninitiated, for those that don't live here, maybe they're thinking about taking a job here or something like that. What would you want to say to them about Northwest Arkansas?
Man, again, very special place. I can give you just my perspective, right? I always grew up concrete jungles, man. And I remember that's the first thing that just was so different for me was just the atmosphere and the setting. On the highway, I'm like, this green everywhere. This is beautiful. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous. And then you've got a great class of people here too, who, I mean, me and my family have been treated extremely well.
Yeah.
And that's been a joy. Even out where we live, no, I won't tell you where, but even out where we live, our home is, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I have friends and family who come to visit and they're like, man, there's just people like waving and and like they're just walking and running around the neighborhood. Like it's just a great vibe. I mean, it really is. And I'll say this, if you could do me a favor and you do move here, we'd love to have you. But let's keep it that way.
Yeah,
that's all I want to say, because again, this is a special place. It's beautiful. I'll tell you a story. I just had to try to do my best to sink my teeth in when I moved here to all that is Northwest Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And a big part of that is those bike trails.
Yeah.
So I got my big old butt on one of those trails and started riding. And I just had never personally been able to experience something like that before.
Sure.
And I know that's not exclusive to Northwest Arkansas, but boy, it is nice.
I think biking is a culture here.
It's exceptional here, So I'm going down this trail and my senses are just getting so stimulated. The sights, the sounds, the smells. I mean, I'm like, oh man, this is beautiful. I just want to see what's down that next corner. Right. You know what? Oh my, that was beautiful. I want to see what's around the next corner.
Right.
And next thing you know, I said, I got to go back. I almost didn't make it for my first bike ride.
That's funny.
But again, there's just so much to see and so much to do. And there's so many amazing things at play here in Northwest Arkansas. I definitely recommend coming giving us a look. It's a gorgeous place.
Yeah,
absolute gem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even though, especially as we get to spring, I mean, we're still in winter, but when spring comes around 2021, there's actually a ton of stuff to do outside, and the weather's fairly mild even this time of year. I mean, the East Coast is about to brace for a major snowstorm. We might get some bad weather, but it's not going to last for long. And you look up, I think it was like 60 something yesterday.
Right.
So, you've got, and that's January. So
great golfing weather, guys.
Yeah, it is. It is really nice. So, you've got some real potential there to take advantage of the, what I would term mild weather. Cause like I always tell people, it's like whatever it is, for some reason, just right below the Missouri border is when the weather pattern changes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you just go 3 hours north and Kansas City could be blanketed with snow, and we don't have any.
Yeah, same thing in Oklahoma City.
Right.
Let me tell you, man.
And Oklahoma City is actually south and west of us.
It's the craziest thing.
It is.
Again,
it's the weather patterns. If you actually look at the weather patterns, there is this, I forget what it's called, but it is a Canadian, there's a Canadian clipper that runs down, but then it quickly jumps back up. And where it jumps back up is like right in that little corner of Kansas, Missouri, and Northwest Arkansas.
Right.
Because Northwest Arkansas borders, like I always tell people, I'm like, I border Kansas, I border Missouri, I border Oklahoma. And I always try to explain to people, I'm actually closer to Tulsa than I am to Little Rock.
It's something.
Yeah. So, but I mean, if you look at the weather patterns, we actually benefit, and we are below. Our climate is, for those growing certain types of perennials and plants and what have you, there's certain things that we can keep outside all year here that they can't just north in Kansas City. So
just the right spot, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the right spot. Again,
it is
a hidden gem.
Yeah.
And you really, big shout out to my man Dan Scoff. He calls it the Fayetteville Fizzle. He's like, man, that weather is just coming, and then hits here and goes away.
Yeah.
And again, we don't remain 100% unscathed. But boy, I'll take what we get. I'll take
absolutely,
what we get.
Absolutely, man. I love that. So you teased us a little bit with some of the plans that you guys have in the near future. What else are you hoping to accomplish in the next few years as you try to make your place here in Northwest Arkansas?
Well, I think a big goal of mine is just to continue the work that's being done and always elevate, continue to do more, continue to do better, continue to grow. Never just be satisfied, because there's always work to be done. And I'd like to say that, Perry Broadcasting, one thing you can do is count on us to do the work and to be a part of whatever it is that needs to be done, and to be a positive in this community, to become more of the fabric, bringing a new product to the market as we did in 2016 when we set up here, was definitely a challenge. But, one thing that I've said, I feel like a lot, even recently, since we've been going through a lot of these new obstacles due to circumstances, right? The pandemic and whatnot. I say, listen, if you can see an obstacle, I promise you somewhere right there is an opportunity,
right?
Exactly. And this has been a great opportunity for us. So I just like to continue to grow, and again, continue to do the work necessary to be a benefit of this community, to be a resource for this community, to ensure that the authentic ownership of a platform can remain that. Because again, this company is very special. The way that it's structured, the way, its origin story is extremely unique and special. And that's something that deserves to be represented in a big way. And if I can be a part of that preservation, and really not just to have it survive, but to have it thrive, is something that, is a big, big goal of mine, to just to see this company continue to grow.
Well, man, I think that's a great place to put a pin in it. I'm going to encourage folks to please listen to KISS 105.3. Tune in on a regular basis. Tell your friends about the station. Reach out to Noel and let him know what you think about what he's doing here. If you see the van, it's like the Scooby-Doo mystery van, but it's branded for KISS 105.3. You'll see it riding around. You might see it at different events. Be sure to stop by and say hi and say, hey, I heard about you guys from the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. Keep up the great work. So,
man. Please do. Yeah. It's like if you took the Scooby-Doo mystery van and took it to Pimp My Ride. Boom.
There you go. Yep. Yeah. So, whoop, there it is. So I love that. If people want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Man, again, we're right here on Dixon Street, 609 West Dixon. Obviously, you can find us at KISSNWA on all social media. That's KISSNWA. Please hit us up, man. We love to engage with you on those online platforms. That would be the easiest, quickest way. Jump in our DMs, as they say. Hit up our DMs and let us know what you think and what you got going. And again, we'd love to connect with you. Again, independently owned company. We love being a part of our community. If there's a community effort or anything going on, if you're a business, obviously, if you want to connect and put our heads together and see what we can create, we'd love to hear from you, love to connect, and we love to get it done.
All right. I love it. Well, there you have it. Noel Sosa, General Manager of KISS 105.3. Super excited to be able to finally sit down here with this man and who I count as a friend and just talk shop with him and learn more about the things that he's doing here in this community in Northwest Arkansas. So please, whatever you guys can do, please support these guys. And again, let them know that you heard about them here on I Am Northwest Arkansas. Thank you so much, Noel. We appreciate it.
Thank you, man. And we're going to have to run this back. Keep me accountable. I've got some things cooking, so hopefully we'll have more to talk about down the road.
Absolutely. I keep telling people I'm always up for a part two, so there's always room for it.
You just keep doing what you're doing, man, because I love tuning in. I think, obviously being 20 years in this industry and being very familiar with this kind of setting, hundreds and hundreds of interviews over the years, to hear you do what you do at the level that you do it, sir, I take my hat off to you.
Thank you.
And I'm a true fan.
Appreciate that, man. Well, that coming from you, that means a lot. So thank you very much. All right. Well, listen, folks, that's another episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. To learn more about us or to read or download the show notes from today's episode, visit IamNorthwestArkansas.com. You can listen to this podcast and sign up for our free newsletter to keep up with us and all things NWA. Sign up today. You can also subscribe to the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast wherever you listen to it. And please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Our podcast comes out every Monday. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and we'll see you back here next week for a new episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. Peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. Check us out each and every week, available anywhere that great podcasts can be found. For show notes or more information on becoming a guest, visit IamNorthwestArkansas.com. We'll see you next week on I Am Northwest Arkansas.